BDD, body dysmorphic disorder, is classified in the obsessive-compulsive and related disorders family for a reason. And when we connect that to hair loss, then really, I guess you guys can see how comorbid hair loss can be. Dermatology settings see BDD all the time, but hair loss stands out as a particularly high-risk presentation. One case control study titled, quote, "Frequency of Body Dysmorphic Disorder Among Patients with Complaints of Hair Loss," unquote, by Kakar et al. 2016, found that roughly 29.6% of patients presenting with hair loss complaints met the criteria for body dysmorphic disorder. Mind you, this is compared to 2.7% in a general dermatology comparison group, so in other words, when compared to people with other dermatological conditions, people with hair loss had a 10 times higher rate of body dysmorphia disorder or body dysmorphic disorder, however you want to call it. So imagine against the normal population how different that rate would be. Definitely, in my opinion, it would be higher. We even have a large multicenter European study looking across common skin diseases and how it found that conditions with the strongest associations with clinically significant BDD symptoms included alopecia in the same top tier as hyperhidrosis, which is a condition causing excessive sweating, typically from the palms of the hand, and vitiligo, which is a chronic autoimmune condition causing the loss of melanin, sometimes in patches leading to brighter or wider spots on parts of the body, if not an entire portion of the body. And typically some people have this on their face. It's much more pronounced if you have a baseline darker skin tone, so that's one thing to take into account. But when you compare alopecia against healthy controls, the incidence of BDD is 11 times higher. That's crazy. So when people shrug and say, it's just a cosmetic condition, they are ignoring that hair loss is one of the biggest dermatological problems that most likely overlap with severe obsessive disorder about appearance. And for those of you listening, you can find the study that I just mentioned. The title is, quote, "Body Dysmorphia in Common Skin Diseases, Results of an Observational Cross-Sectional Multicenter Study Among Dermatological Outpatients in 17 European Countries," unquote, by Schultz et al. 2022. So, if you're able to take BDD seriously, the survival language by South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, it stops sounding dramatic and starts to sound medically literate. You see, suicidality in BDD is not a rare edge case. In a prospective study, suicidal ideation was reported by a mean of 57.8% of subjects per year and a mean of 2.6% of attempted suicides per year. The International OCD Foundation summarizes the broader literature even more bluntly. About 80% report suicidal thoughts, and around 1 in 4 or more have attempted suicide. And when we look at conditions supposedly like post-finasteride syndrome, where people say, well, when I started taking finasteride or dutasteride, or when I started using topical minoxidil, I suddenly became very depressed, it's likely the case that many of these people already had depressive attitudes to begin with, because hair loss as a disorder really distorts people's perception of themselves and their importance and self-worth. Whether or not you think these people are crybabies or whatever, it has an effect on society. And when you're looking at a population like South Korea where, well, let's just be real here, their birth rates are going down the drain, you want people to have a general good mood, right? So they can start fucking again, right? Isn't that what people would want in these circumstances? So I kind of look at that angle of a matter of quote-unquote survival as being a pretty sound point, to be honest with you. You can simply look at the study titled, quote, "Association of 5-alpha reductase inhibitors with Depression and Suicide, a mini systematic review and meta-analysis," unquote, by Alessandro Urelli et al., 2024. After looking at 5 studies involving 2,213,600 patients, the researchers found no statistically significant association between 5-alpha reductase inhibitor exposure and the risk of depression. But nevertheless, some people are expressing depression, and what I'm saying here is that these people probably have a low-grade BDD to begin with. These people were probably very, very conflicted with their self-image to the point where it was creating this sort of cognitive dissonance. They wanted a reason to blame finasteride and dutasteride and hair loss medications as a factor in why they feel the way they do. But it's really hard to admit to the self that you feel that way because, well, you're kind of watching yourself degrade, right? In the sense that you're looking at your hair fall out, and with each hair growth cycle, it's just diminishing. Some people are simply more resilient than others, and some other people, because of their environment, they only get the wrong kinds of enforcement, and it just makes them have a worse outlook.